So the way we're going to start off making our dado jig is we got this piece of plywood. I'm going to cut about 6 inches off the side here, stack it on top of this, and that should give us enough between the two stacks to make our dado jig.
Alright, so what I'm doing is I'm going to measure 6 inches from this edge. That way I have my point as to where I'm going to cut. So I'm going to do that. Right there. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to measure 6 inches from the blade to the fence. That way I make sure it's correct. This way. It's this way. It's way too far out there. So bring it in. A little bit too much. Bring it back some. Okay, so that side's good. Make sure it's good on this side too. And it is. So I'm going to lock it down. And I'll make my cut.
Our 2 pieces cut, we need to affix this to the bottom side. Now what's important here is that from this new straight edge that we just created, that the length from here to here is longer or wider than what the base is from the edge of the base here to the edge of the bit. That way once we affix these two together, we'll run the router against the straight edge, making a 0 clearance cut on this side. So roughly speaking, let's see here, 2 3/4 inches. So at this point what I want to do is I want to make sure that I have this board affixed to here with probably about 3 inches so that when we trim it up it'll be a flush trim and we have enough meat to take off.
So now that I made marks at 3 inches, I'm going to go ahead and use some wood glue here, and I'm going to attach this board to the one below. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and put some screws into it. That way it will clamp the boards together and make it easier for the glue to set correctly where we want it.
So through the magic of editing, it's now the next day. We've got this glued up, I've got it clamped to our workbench, and it's time to take the router along this edge and trim this to a 0 clearance with the router bit.
So we've now finished shaving down the jig, so that way there's 0 clearance between the blade and the actual board itself. That way we can utilize this when making the bookshelf.
So we're going to make the bookshelves out of these pine panels. They're pre-glued, ready to go. You can pick them up at any big box retail, Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, that type of place. They're relatively inexpensive. I don't mind the knots. This is most likely going to be a painted project. But what we'll do is we'll take the jig that we just made, we'll make marks, set this on the board, clamp it down, and we'll route the dados into the sides. However, to start with, we're going to break these down into the dimensions that we need to start with, and we're going to use a handsaw to do that. So we're going to use this here, which the old-timey kind of guys would call a door board. It's very, very similar to the dado jig that we just made, in that we took 2 pieces of plywood, glued them together, making sure the top one had a straight edge, making sure that the edge from here to here was wider than what the distance from the edge of the plate on the circular saw was to the blade, and then simply trimmed at the edge. That way, what we're going to do is we're going to make marks at 40 inches for the sides of the bookcase, and then we'll use this to trim these down to edge. This entire project can be done, including the dados, with just the circular saw if you want to take the time to set the depth correctly on the blade and then use it to instead of a router bit to gouge out for the dados. However, because we have a router, we are going to use that, but now you'll get to see this in use as well.
Alright, so this board we just cut, we decided to go with 38 inches instead of 40. So those will be for the sides. These ones here are 11 3/4, and those will be the shelves. And this board here is 13 1/4, and it'll be used for the top. Alright, so we now have our board here, and we made marks at 11.5 inches where we want our shelves to be. And I've put the dado jig on there, and now I'm going to run it through so we get our dado.
We finished doing all the dados and all the pieces, and we've done a quick little dry fit to make sure everything fits. So now comes probably the comical portion of our video today, which is going to be us gluing this up. While this is drying, we're going to set the top up. We could dado the top and then set it. However, it's just easier at this point to drill some holes through the top that match up with the verticals and use some dowels to plug it. So Zach here is going to show what he's doing by matching up where the verticals are.
So, using a square, I'm going to make sure that the marks that I put in here are directly lined up with the middle of the board below it, so it doesn't blow out when we screw it in.
And we're shooting for 2 inches inset on all 4 screws, so they're all symmetrical across the top. As you can see, he just made a hash mark, and then he'll make a mark along the square, along the board. And then once we make all 4 marks, we'll take it to the drill press. Using 2 different drill bits, we'll drill a larger hole to a depth that will cover the head that we can put the dowel into. Then we'll go back and put a smaller one through it so we don't split the wood as we go into the other side. Alright, so here's the final piece. No frills, easy to make bookshelf. Came out pretty good, didn't it, Zach?
Yes, it did.
Yep.
Relatively quickly, too.
Yeah, it went pretty fast. Didn't have any hiccups. The whole point of our channel is to show people that they can make things at home without having to go and buy it from Walmart or IKEA. And with these dados, I think it's definitely a lot stronger than what you can buy from the store. A few dollars and a little bit of time, and you got something that you can be a little more proud of than assembly required.
Very true.
Very true. Alright, well, if you like what we did here, feel free to like and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you hit the bell so you get notified of when the next video comes up. Our next video is going to be not a woodworking project, it's going to be something a little more different, but proving the point that at the end of the day, don't buy, build. Hopefully if you want, there's no plans for this, just kind of make it on the fly and make it to the size that you want. You know, it's completely scalable. You could go a little bit bigger, go wider. Same rules still apply with this video. All in all, not too bad, huh, Zach?
Went pretty good.
All right. Well, again, if you like what we did, feel free to subscribe and look forward to seeing you all next Friday when we put up our next video. Thanks.
Off to the side. You already clicked start?
Yep. Move to the other side.